Commissioner for Transport Frederick Oladehinde joins us on TVC News at 10. Let's begin with some clarification. Was there a reversal of the ban on Okada, the one we heard about in February 2020?
Not at all. What we have done is to reinforce what was stated in 2020. So in 2020, we restricted Okada from 6 local governments and 9 LCDAs, and we're just simply reinforcing that. And what you will have noticed is that towards the time when we were moving, during the NSAS period, enforcement was weakened a bit because, a lot of things were happening. And when you look at what is happening around Lagos, especially during the NSAS period, a lot of criminals that escaped from prisons were coming into Lagos. A lot of people came into Lagos and then they were staying in uncompleted buildings. So they saw Okada as a way of a quick getaway, and you would notice that we've started clearing those uncompleted buildings. So before the NSAS, the restriction was effective, and what we're simply doing is going back to that, making sure that the enforcement is heightened, and we'll make it more effective also.
How does this impending enforcement affect private motorcycle users and those who use motorcycles for courier services?
So those who use motorcycles for courier services, there's a registration that they have to go through, and once they have their documentation, they're not really affected. For the Okada riders, you must have your residential card, as well as there are other documents like your rider's card. And you must apply within the areas where you are allowed to. So you're not allowed to apply the highways, you're not allowed to apply the 6 LCD, local government areas that we've talked about, and you're not allowed to apply the 9 LCDAs. So there's a lot of enforcement that is going on just to ensure that the right people are actually riding our bikes, and they actually comply with the areas where they're supposed to ride.
So if I get you clearly, are you saying this ban includes people who own power bikes and private motorcycles?
Oh, no. So basically, if you're going to do Okada, it has to be above 200cc and above. So if it's below 200cc, then that's not within the regulations. So you're not allowed to do that. So we'll confiscate that bike and we'll destroy it.
Indeed. So
and that's because
here's the big concern, Mr. Oladehinde. Okadas and tricycles have really helped Lagosians in the midst of the worst traffic situation over the years. The biggest concern is, does the rail network, ferry service, and the public bus system, as they currently are in Lagos, enough to service the larger portion of the Lagos population? We're talking about a number bigger than the population of Portugal and Switzerland put together. Do you think that we have the infrastructure to make this a reality?
We're gearing towards that. So when you look at what has happened over the last 2 years, the government has injected over 550 high-capacity buses. We have injected about 500 first and last mile today. We've also injected an additional 100 buses. We've also invited the private sectors who have injected a number of buses. So we're gearing towards a situation where we will build a multimodal integrated public transport that will be people. But pending that time, we have ramped up water transportation. The government bought 8 vessels about last year, and then 7 will be added by next week. And then we have private operators who are also joining Lab Ferry, just to make sure that we ramp up water transportation. And also, the government mentioned the arrival of 1,000 taxis that would also give people options to move from one point to the other. So we're gearing towards the point where we'll be able to cater for the 22 million passengers that we have in Lagos.
Well, we'll see how all of this work out, particularly with areas in Lagos that are not as motorable, given the innovation of the first and last mile buses. Commissioner for Transport Frederick Oladehinde, thank you so much for talking to us tonight.
You're welcome.